Do it.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to Faith Unfiltered Life. My name is JoJo.
I'm Karen.
And we have a little bit of a longer introduction because we've got the guys to introduce you to.
Yay.
So why don't you're going to be happy. This is Leon.
I am real.
Karen, who's Leon?
So many of you heard so many times, well, who's Leon? Who's Leon?
I am him.
That was the most annoying thing ever. When I was like in the middle of just a really good point, she'd be like, wait, who's Leon? And I'm like, he's my husband. So this is Leon, my husband.
Am I supposed to say something? Right?
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
And this is John. So if you guys remember seeing our promo for the beginning of the month, we kind of like they showed up at the end of the promo, which is totally intentional. But for the past, I don't even know how long. A few months, right?
Yeah.
We've just kind of Karen and I are constantly thinking about you guys. We're thinking about the podcast, its growth. We're praying on it, taking it before God and just being like, okay, here's this thing that you gave us, this little idea, and we want to be responsible with it and just be led by him at all times. And it was really something that started, I want to say, in like Leon and Karen's heart simultaneously, and they like had no idea about it.
And she was just stuck in the middle.
I was. And so we're going to talk about like, how this came to be, and then we'll let the guys kind of introduce themselves. But I don't remember if it was 3 or 2 months ago.
I think it was a little longer than that, actually.
It was probably
4 or 5.
probably longer than that because it started off with Leon, and Leon has just been looking for a community for, I want to say, over almost going on 2 years now.
Yeah.
And when I say community, it's harder for men to find community than it is for women to find community, especially when it comes into like church and Christianity. Just men are like less emotional than we are. We connect over things like sandals.
Yeah.
Like, you're so cute. Let's be best friends. And guys aren't just like that. And when it comes to talking about faith and like their challenges and their struggles. So I just watched him kind of struggle with it and pray about it, and just had been talking for a few months, and they had their Bible study going. And Leon was like, what do you think if John and I did, he hadn't even talked to John at this point. He was just like, what do you think if John and I did like a guy's version of the full podcast? And I was like,
now the full podcast, just so we're Faith Unfiltered Life. So FUL. So that's why we refer to it full.
Yeah.
So
full podcast, live full.
Yep.
So I just kind of heard him say it and I stayed quiet. And he was like, you hate it.
Because she never stays quiet, right?
Correct. Yes, this is the one moment she internally processed this.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of a date.
It wasn't internally processing.
Yes, it was. We were in the middle of a date.
Go right ahead.
And this was fantastic. I looked at her. I'm like, oh, well, it'd be cool if John and I kind of came on and, what do you think? And I very vividly asked her the question. That sounds cool. Quiet.
That was it.
One time she stops talking.
So how many times have you guys heard about her being an external processor? So, and he knows this. So that was jarring to you, I'm sure.
Yes, because how did you interpret that?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, no.
She hates
this
it.
is never
She
gonna happen.
hates it.
Yeah. She's like, oh, after a minute, she's like, oh, I'll bring it up to Karen.
And
I was like, okay.
did it for months.
She did.
I brought it up to her.
He would bring it up again. And I'd say, okay, I'm waiting on, and this is crazy. This is how much I've grown. I'm waiting on like the right opportunity, right? Karen would be so proud.
I am proud because she never said a peep.
Not a word.
Said a peep.
Not a word. And he was like, no, you really hate it.
Yeah, no, the second time, I was like, in my mind, when she's like, oh, I haven't even talked to Karen about it yet. I was like, even if you turn around and say yes, I'm not doing it anymore.
He said it out loud too. He said it out loud. He was like, at this point, I don't even want to do it anymore. And I was like,
that's
rude.
Extreme.
Yeah, that's rude.
I can so see me in 35-year-old you.
Yeah.
I can so see that.
Yes.
Yes.
But it was, I'm so happy that that's how it happened, because it was such a God thing that not even like a week after he had gotten really upset about it, was just like shutting it down even before it started. Karen was even like, what do you think if we have a couple of guys join the podcast?
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, boom, baby, this is the time. I was like, Karen, I've got the guys. And she was like, huh? And she didn't even need to like sell me on it. I immediately replied with a text of like the plan. Leon has had this thing in his heart for like however long. He got mad at me last week even because I didn't even like bring it up after months of him asking me. And it was just like literally such a perfect thing that happened that it couldn't have been anything but God, honestly.
Yeah.
And so here we are, Faith Unfiltered Life. We have Karen and JoJo, and we have John and Leon, and they're going to bring the male perspective to the podcast. Not just the male perspective, because I think Leon and I talked about this too, and Karen and I talked about it. It's not going to be a guys versus girls type of thing.
Not at all.
So how would you guys explain it?
So, from my perspective, having listened to the podcast since you guys started, there's so many times during the course of what you're talking about that I'm thinking, wow, that is so relevant. Guys need to hear this too. And I'm not sure, I don't know what your demographic is as far as guys versus girls that are listening to it, but and a lot of the things that um, are relevant to guys, they just may need to be just slightly tailored to guys.
Yeah.
So, because when you hear things from women about guys, a lot of guys can be like, yeah, well, what do you know about that? Because from a man's perspective, it's different. But hearing it from other men, even if it's the exact same message, it may just come across differently. And so if we're able to communicate those things effectively, then I think that's a win.
You took all the words that I thought I was going to say and said them. Yeah, so I'm spot on.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited because this is a piece that, you just said it also. We don't communicate as well to guys as we are girls. As much as we don't want to not reach guys, we just, in theory, we just can't.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys can. You guys talk different. You act different. You process different. We look at things differently than you look at things. What is important to women may not be as important to men. And our heart is to make sure we reach everyone to be able to grow. I know I'll be listening to you guys, not just because you're part of this, but I want to learn also, but I'm going to be favored to listening more towards JoJo and I.
Right.
So,
because we're just girls.
but
I also think that it's more so along the line, like I get demographics and I get guys and girls, but even you and I talking, there are not a lot of things from both perspectives, whether it's conferences, Bible study, devotionals, from both perspectives, and to me, because we live in a world full of all kinds of humans. I think it's nice that we're going to be able to touch on topics, and it's not always just going to be the guys and the girls. It may be Leon and I, or it may be John and Karen, because let me tell you guys what. I had them over for dinner the other day. Leon and I were literally sitting at the table like this.
I almost made some popcorn.
It was like back and forth, but like in a beautiful sense. So there's just such wisdom, I think. There's such transparency, authenticity, literally all the things that Faith Unfiltered Life stands for.
Yeah.
And I think that having both perspective is going to be so huge. I know you guys are going to have your why and you're going to do your episode, but like, can you just start off by telling the people a little about yourself?
You want to go first?
No, go ahead. I stole your thunder last time. I don't want to do it again.
Seriously.
Oh, listen, Karen and Leon with the thunder stealing.
So who I am, as a Christian, I'm the baby Christian here, right? So part of
That's another
my
thing too. Yeah,
wanting
there's
to
so
do,
many different levels of.
yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, sorry.
So stealing my thunder again. So part of the reason, like selfishly wanting to do this podcast, is to be around people that are more biblically knowledgeable than I am, right? So it helps me learn. I've always been the person who I want to be the smallest fish in the pond and grow, right? So just really getting to know more about the Bible, bringing you guys along in that journey with me, and just,
And I think that's valuable.
Completely forgot where I was at.
I think that's valuable because you being the baby Christian, Karen and I talk about not wanting to get lost in Christianese a lot. And I think that's so helpful because like obviously us listening to Karen and John and like knowing of the Bible and having some knowledge is like, wow, this is so profound and so deep. But sometimes we can get so deep that we miss the point.
Exactly. Yeah.
We miss the point, which is reaching the people for Jesus.
Yeah.
And if we're so deep in it that we don't like help anybody else on the surface, the point of this podcast is useless. It like is genuinely useless. So it's a good check for us too to just be like, let's scale it back a little bit and let's like learn.
And our mission statement is to reach the seekers, the skeptics, and the worn out believers. So, and all of us fall in the category of seeking, but our exposure is at different levels, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But we're all seekers. I have been a worn out believer.
Leon brought it up. So how long have you been a Christian?
Since I was 14. Should I do the math? I don't think I count that. Anyway.
John, what about you?
That's a long story, but in the short version, I was technically a Christian when I turned 20.
Yeah.
But I had gone through the church steps of being a Christian when I was like 11. But I did not have the impact on my life until I was in my early 20s.
Okay. Babe, how long have you been?
Um,
As long as we've been together?
no, let's not give you that much credit. Jeez.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
I would say 6 years is when
That's
I kind of, yeah.
That's fair. And I think my story is kind of similar to John's. I was raised in church. My grandfather's a pastor. I have multiple pastors in my family. I've loved Jesus my entire life, but for me to tell you that I've lived a Christian lifestyle at the heart level, like what he's talking about, like genuinely walking a path. Actually, this is a whole conversation in and of itself. I've been a Christian my entire life. I was saved. I accepted Jesus, right?
At
But
what
when
age?
I had my encounter with Jesus when I was 9 years old. I can tell you that I acknowledged him as my savior. I wanted a relationship with him. I wanted him to come into my life, learned about the Holy Spirit. But in my teenage years, I did deviate. I did not live a life that was for Jesus, whether it was choices that I was making or, the way that I was thinking, whatever. The way that I was living was just not for Jesus. And then shortly after we met each other, my husband and I, Leon and I, it was like the comeback where God was very heavily pulling me back to him through Leon. And I've shared that story with you guys several times. So I guess on and off since I was 9.
Okay, so now that I'm hearing you guys, I will say that I was kind of raised Catholic, but we weren't devout Catholics. Like we didn't go to church every Sunday. We were more the Christmas and Easter, right? But in that time frame, I don't think I ever got taught anything about the Bible, right? And then I had it was hate. I hated religion. And I hated I lost my word here. I hated the hypocrisy that came with a lot of
What you saw.
religious and what I saw, right?
Yeah.
So I was a kid, the hoodlum, let me say, that I was selling a little bit of weed here and there to members of that Catholic church. So at that point, I was like, this ain't real. You guys are just playing. And I kind of wrote it off. And that was probably age 14. So from 14 to actually probably 12. 14 to whenever.
And I feel
somewhere
like
in my
we're getting in deep
30s.
here for an intro, but we're going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go there. Because I'm sure that a lot of you guys are listening and thinking, okay, well, how can you say that you were a Christian on and off? That's not making sense, right? It's not like you're married to someone or dating someone. Like, what are you even talking about? So therefore, we have to define what makes a Christian. What is that?
Well, I think there's a two-step, which we kind of talked about before.
Yep.
There's a difference between having Jesus as your savior and Jesus as your Lord. And I think through everyone that you heard from today, you heard 9, 11, 14, that's our salvation point. But then we hear at 20, I started investigating more. At whatever age, I started Leon, years ago, I started learning more. All of a sudden, there's a transformation of relationship, which we call lordship.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it.
That's probably the distinctive difference of what we're talking about right now. It's
funny
that
you
first
say
time that is we can consciously know that we knew who Jesus was.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that, and I'm thinking of my timeline here is I gave my life to Christ and I surrendered and I wanted to learn more about him, but I didn't do it until maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Is really when I started to actually seek him and look for a relationship.
That's fantastic.
I keep thinking about something, and if you want me to edit this out, I can totally edit it out. But I have to share this.
We're unfiltered.
We're unfiltered. We're in this.
And I'm only thinking about it because obviously there's probably you may be, like Karen said, a seeker, skeptic, or a worn out believer, which may just mean you are saved, not saved, or you just don't believe in it at all, or you're someone who's been saved and it's just like church hurt, worn out, whatever. But anyways, whenever Leon first started to like, I could see that God was really stirring in his heart. It was like an internal thing that was happening that I could see happening. It was an internal thing that was happening within him, but I could see it was stirring externally. Like he was just, some things were changing, some things were not. And we would come to church, and whenever our pastor would make like the altar call, I could see that like at first Leon like wanted to do it.
Mhm.
And then eventually he did do it. And then he did it again.
Oh, I did it like
And then he
87
did it
times.
again. And I was like, babe, you're saved. Like you are saved. You prayed the prayer of salvation. You're saved. You don't have to keep doing it again.
I don't think you actually said that to me though.
I didn't, but I
Yeah.
kept thinking to myself, no, you're saved. Like we're not, and I'm not going to ever just be like, put your hand down, babe, you're saved. Like in the middle of church. But I just thought that was like, what was running through your mind?
I didn't believe it.
Okay.
Is that what it
Right?
was?
Yeah.
I didn't.
So I was so fixated on who my identity was prior to that I didn't believe it.
You
To
didn't believe
me,
what? Like that you had been saved, that Jesus could
that it was that
redeem
easy.
you, that it was that easy.
That it was that easy.
Yeah.
So you were thinking it was something that you had to earn.
Yes. Yeah. So in my head, I wasn't done punishing myself enough for my prior actions.
That's the key right there.
Yeah.
So at what point in that brief period did you go from realizing it's not anything that I can earn, but it's what God has done for me? So that's
Like timeline?
Well, so
When
that
did you stop punishing yourself, and when did you believe it?
yeah, that's what I call, you know, when I said that I was saved in my 20s, that's what I call putting a flag in the ground. Like I don't think that you need to know date and time of when your salvation experience was. Like I would not be able to point to a calendar and say when it was, but I can tell you where I was. Like I can put a flag in the ground on this is the event that caused this in me. So was there that for you?
The one event that I would say is actually our wedding day. So I can vividly remember her walking down the aisle, and it was the first time I've ever heard God. And we've had this conversation where he's got to hit me with a 2x4 for me to make sense. That day, he definitely hit me with a 2x4. And I saw her walking down with her dad, and it was just a voice that said, "This is my daughter. I need you to take care of her. And I am giving her to you." And at that point, it was like something changed that I was like, okay, I can't do this because I will mess this up. And yeah, that's stuff.
That's so cute. I didn't know that.
So this is an example. I mean, you're going to get raw, unfiltered faith from all four of us all the time. And hopefully this will connect you guys with experiences in your own life, experiences of where you're seeking, where you're, I don't believe that, or, you know what, I'm really tired of that. The seekers, the skeptics, and the worn out believers. Hopefully between the four of us and our guest speakers, we will continue to have guest speakers between either our guest speakers, their guest speakers, and just bring you a whole unfiltered piece that you guys can learn from, will learn from, and connect with.
Yeah.
This is just the intro. This is just the beginning. So hopefully you guys tune in the next few weeks while the guys share their reasons why, their testimonies, as well as some like man and guy stuff. Okay? That's why they're here, to be manly.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't follow us on any of our platforms, please do. You can visit us on www.faithunfilteredlife.com, where there I've listed all the ways to access us: Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Apple, as well as we have a newsletter that you can sign up for. You're going to want the newsletter. You're going to want the newsletter because the newsletter not only sends out our promo episodes, so you can kind of like flag the dates that they're released, but we also have some things in the works with like Bible study and virtual communities and things that I can't talk about too much because it's not time. But I do want you guys to sign up for the newsletter. It's important that you do. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.